everyone. Welcome to the seventh episode of Bhavika and Lauricia's Chat Show. Oh my God, we are 7 episodes old and we've got so great guests with us today. We have a great guest by the name of Mr. Srikrishnan. He is a co-founder at Rocketlane, which is a customer onboarding software. Hey Shri, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me on, Bhavika.
Great, great. Okay, so Shri, before moving ahead, let me tell you the format of of this chat show, which is divided into a couple of rounds. So we'll have 4 rounds, wherein first we'll give you the stage to share your thoughts on Rocketlane. How does it help the customers? How does it help the CSMs? And then we'll have a rapid fire round where we really want you to pass with flying colors. Though we do not have any hamper, but we would love that you really pass that with flying colors. The next round would be a dilemma situation. We would be asking you a question which is a really a confused question, wherein we might want to hear your thoughts on the situation. After that, it's the last round, which is the question of the day. So I hope that's fine with you, right?
Sure.
Great, great. So let's go with the first round, Shri. We would love to know about Rocketlane more. How did you get the idea? When was it set up? What is the team dynamics, and what's there in it for the CSMs, for the customers? We really want to know more about it.
Sure. Perfect. So both of you folks have been in CS. I'm curious, have you used spreadsheets for onboarding customers?
Yes, yes. Spreadsheets are used like widely for onboarding customers. Yes.
Yeah, spreadsheets,
Right.
HubSpots. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think all of us have done that at some point where we had like each customer had a separate spreadsheet, and then you're wondering how do we showcase visibility on what's happening across all of these to management. So you create another spreadsheet where you have the status of all the ongoing onboardings, and that's where things start, right? So we think there's this sort of uh, different levels of maturity with respect to how you think of onboarding. Everyone starts with typically making it up as you go. As a very small company, you're like, hey, you know what, I don't know what onboarding is going to feel like, so let me, hey, these are all the steps that we need to do. You end up doing it a few times, then you're like, okay, let me make it a checklist, right? So I'll note down my steps. I'm going to send it over an email, or I'm going to put it together as a series of tasks on a spreadsheet and then share it across with the customer. Then it moves, as you graduate from there, it moves more into a project plan. And what I mean by that is you now start putting dates against things, saying, hey, I know that week 1, this is what we want to accomplish. And, these are the people who need to finish these tasks and so on. So it becomes like more timelines, and you could still use a spreadsheet, or a lot of companies move to like simple tools like Trello board or Asana and so on, right?
Right.
And then you get a more involved project tool. So you start taking those, project planning seriously because you're working with larger customers, and that's where people start using tools like Jira, Rike, Smartsheets.
Yep.
So we've sort of seen all of this. We've tried all of this at our previous startup, and then we realized that not just at a previous startup. My previous startup got acquired by a company called Freshworks, and we have tried these over there as well. Now, what happens is this, none of these were still built for client-facing projects. None of these were built for repeatable motions, right? So you sort of don't have a mechanism for you to say, hey, these are all the steps that should happen as a template, and ensure that everyone on the team is using that same template. So that's not something that comes in any of these tools. And likewise, none of them were built for sharing with the customer. Once you bring a customer into your product, it's like they can see everything that's happening in your project tool, right? So it's all or nothing with respect to sharing. And these are some of the things that we felt if someone had built a tool for onboarding ground up, it wouldn't feel this way, right? We are making do with project tools, spreadsheets, and that's why it is a hack. And as a result, there's so many shortcomings. Firstly, the visibility is poor. either you're keeping the customer in the dark, or you're keeping like your management in the dark, or you're sort of not having all your steps there because you don't want to make it too complex to share with the customer. Uh, this takes care of one part of things. You still have different documents you collaborate on with the customer. Could be a scoping document, a requirements document, an SOW, test cases, whatever it is, right? In your journey from kickoff to planning to implementation, testing, training, go live, there's going to be so many links that we are sharing across with the customer, documents that we are sharing, in addition to the project plan, and then of course emails back and forth. It's just so hard for a CSM or an implementation or onboarding specialist to stay on top of all that's happening. And this is what we saw in our previous company. As we started going more mid-market, up-market, it just became like we were depending on heroics of people to take those onboarding projects across the finish line, rather than being able to do it in a streamlined way using a tool. And we thought, if we were to build this ground up, keeping in mind that you want to keep the customer at the center of this, you want to deliver a better onboarding experience, because guess what, this is the first partnership that the customer is actually experiencing with you after the sale is done, right? And you don't want to make it feel overwhelming. You don't want to make it feel like things are all over the place. You don't want to give them anxiety around that launch date. You want to make it smooth. You want to give the right level of visibility. And that's where we felt there was a great opportunity to help companies that are onboarding their customers impress their customers in that first partnership that you're delivering on. Bring consistency. It's hit or miss today. Instead, can we move it to be more, hey, we know the steps. This is how we do our onboarding. Here's how we can get it done in 4 weeks, right? We sort of go with that confidence, go with the plan, so that the customer also buys into the plan then, right? So they see that, hey, this company is sorted. They know what they're doing. They're going to work with you on it. And then you also expose a beautiful onboarding portal to them and say, hey, I'm Segment. So I have onboard.segment.io. I've sent you a link. Just click on the link and you're going to see the journey from there. Or I'm ChargeBee. Have success.chargebee.com. Join in and you're going to see the journey. You're going to see the tasks on your plate. You're going to have all the status updates, the whole project plan, the documents you're working on together, the approvals, everything that happens in that phase in one place, right? So you don't have to go searching through emails anymore. Training material, boom, it's right there. A test case document for your team to use, boom, there's a template there already. So that's the idea. How do we help you elevate the customer experience during the onboarding journey? And how do we take that process from kickoff to value delivery? It's no longer about go live, it's about value delivery. And you should be paying attention really to how that experience is happening for your customers, right? You should be measuring that experience. There should be like a customer experience score for how your onboarding is making them feel. And this is lacking today, and we really felt the pain ourselves. Talked to a bunch of companies, understood that, okay, this is real. Let's go and build that. I would say when we first showed our vision to people, they were like, okay, this looks like a grand vision, but what are you going to build and launch first? And we said we're going to launch the whole thing, because there's no point in launching part of it and still having other siloed sort of documents and information and tasks getting spread. And for a lot of people, it wasn't too believable, I think, that we would launch everything in one shot. But we knew, because we have built like 3 SaaS products before. So with that confidence, we sort of went into a build mode last year, went into a private beta in March this year, pretty much when we wanted to be there. So it's been a fantastic journey for us. And I think from March, we've been working with a handful of customers. Then from June, we sort of took the product like GA, available to a wider audience. And so it's been a interesting journey, and people love what not just our customers, but their customers also love the experience.
Yeah, very, very rightly mentioned by you, Shri, because customer onboarding is like the first contact with the customer after the sale is done, like you mentioned. And like we always say, first impression is the last impression. And there are a lot of customers who might like go if the onboarding is not done correctly. We might like it might lead to churn, which nobody wants it, right? So that's why you're tackling a very great problem, because there are a lot of people, there are a lot of companies, a lot of CSMs who deal with this in like day in and day out. And if they have such a tool in place, I think a lot of their woes would get answered. Like it's a magic then. So
Right. I
kudos
mean,
to you.
things
Yeah,
as simple as knowing what's on your plate today.
true.
Uh, Often CSMs need to open like multiple project boards or multiple spreadsheets to know, what they need to be on top of, and that's not a nice place to be for anyone. So I think like we've really um worked with a whole bunch of people who have been through these situations, shown them like how the product is evolving every step of the way,
Right.
and yeah, it's you know fingers crossed. It's been working well so far for all of the customers who are trying it out.
Awesome, awesome. Kudos to you and your team, of course, who've been at it, and they actually got this opportunity to create something for people like CSMs, or maybe the customers also are facing such issues. And if we have such a solution in place, I think it's an awesome thing. Great job on that, Shri. Okay,
Thanks, Bhavika.
cool. Cool. So we have got a great insights from Shri on Rocketlane, of course. And let's move ahead with our second round, which is the rapid fire round. And it needs to be rapid, but you need not take any kind of pressure. We would love to know more about Rocketlane, so take your time. But yes, needs to be rapid and no hampers. I'm sorry for that. Okay, Lotte,
Sure.
over to you.
Yes. So the first question, what was until now the biggest challenge for Rocketlane?
I think I would say it's a new category, and that's our biggest challenge. That people aren't looking for a solution already because they don't know something like this exists. So people have been making do with their spreadsheets and other project tools, and they think that's what is available. So we need to educate the market, and that's always a huge challenge. We are trying our best, and I think there are other players who are coming into the scene as well. So it's together. I guess we'll all educate the market, and then the products that stand out are gonna grow fast after that.
Yeah, and if there are other players coming on the market, then it also means that there is a market for it. So that's good. Yeah. All right. Then on the more brighter side, what was until now the greatest win for Rocketlane?
Okay, so I would think, like personally for me, it's just how the team has come together in a we started building the company during a pandemic. So we started in April 2020 after the pandemic had set in. So a lot of our teammates we've never met, but somehow managed to pull together, like stick to the vision. Actually, I would say the most impressive thing I think is how much polish there is in the product. Every single demo we get on, people keep complimenting us on what the product looks like and feels like. And I think accomplishing that level of finesse with a remote team who's never like met and worked with each other, that's probably what I would look at as our biggest win. And the second thing is probably how we delivered on like a big vision for the product at get go. So the Rocketlane has project management, document collaboration, approvals, CSAT ratings for different stages, reports around it, all of it built and that separate customer portal, what's shared, what's not shared, all of that across the board. So it's to me that's amazing, and that's going to help us win over a lot of customers. We are already seeing, like as I said, I think I mentioned this recently in another interview, but one of our customers who came on a demo first, the founder of the company said, "Hey, I really love what I'm seeing. We'll shake hands with you on this and buy your product. My only condition is we want to be the first ones to pay when you start charging." So this was when we were in our private beta, and to hear that from another founder was like very touching for us, and yeah, it's been a good ride that way.
Terrific. Like, it's a perfect example of like if you have a great product, there would be people, of course, around to buy, and you really don't have to prove that value. The product will speak for itself. So great job on that, Sri.
Thanks, Valika.
Great. Moving ahead with our next question. Of course, you mentioned about some of the customers which have been onboarded, but what are your plans on hitting the market? How does your pipeline look? Where do you see yourself?
Yeah, so we are starting. So one of the things we did in the last quarter was we sort of participated in 3 events, and that gave us a good amount of visibility, and we've been engaging with customers from there. We also launched on Product Hunt, and we were #1 for the day. So that was again a nice win for us because it was our launch day, right? And we also launched on Product Hunt. We did our PR. Everything happened on the same day. And it felt like a good win for the team to say, okay, we were actually #1, not just like in the top 3 or something, but actually #1. So that was nice, and that gave us a lot of leads. Actually, so much so that we hadn't hired enough people on our team to handle all of those incoming leads. So we've sort of called in some friends of Rocketlane to help us out while we figure out our hiring, to sort of help us with demos and customer conversations, closing deals, and so on. So it's I think going forward we will start more. So we've done some interesting things in marketing already on the GTM side. So, for example, we have a community of more than 620 people globally in customer success, implementation, onboarding, who are engaging, coming to our events. We have like typically 2 events a month. And sort of learning from each other. And the idea there is not to promote Rocketlane, but I think since we are doing it, eventually, people will realize that, okay, there is Rocketlane who's doing this community. Let's check out what they're doing. And hopefully, some of them will end up as our customers as well. Right. And so there's obviously paid campaigns, etc., that we will do as well. But for now, I think our activity on LinkedIn, the content that we put out, all of that has like a lot of good visibility, and people coming in saying, hey, we loved your ideas around how to onboarding. We loved your templates that you have published. And from there, we get our leads today.
Great job on that. Okay, moving ahead with the last question of rapid fire round. How is the culture at Rocketlane? Because since it's a new company, new product, you guys have been working through pandemic, and now you might meet, but how has the culture been? Like even virtually, how has it been?
So we have I would say we have a fun atmosphere at Rocketlane. We've been very intentional about culture. We want to bring in people who are motivated, who want to level up in whatever they're doing. They want to like be world class at what they're doing. So that's like the criteria, right? And once they come in, though, it's about them taking ownership and doing more, right? And sort of pushing themselves to deliver. And we keep. I think the idea is we have a very high bar for what is good to put out there, whether you're shipping content, shipping an illustration for a blog, a video, actual code, and like the product, everything needs to like match that high bar. And people are not like upset about it, right? So this is a kind of team where they're happy that they're being challenged in better ways, saying, hey, no, this is not good enough is a good thing at Rocketlane. Means, they're going to learn something and do something better. At the same time, we also keep things like casual and fun. If you join, like we have this every Thursday, we have an all faces meeting. It's like all hands, but you need to turn your video on. Otherwise, people switch it off on Zoom, right? Yeah. So it's an all faces meeting. And everyone comes in and sort of, we are like pulling each other's leg. It's okay to pull anyone's leg. So typically it's actually my leg or like Vignesh or Deepak, my co-founders, who are going to get teased more in these calls. But it's just about like having fun together as a team, because we are not meeting each other. We need avenues to bond. We need avenues to learn a little more outside of like what we learn while working. Yeah. So we do that intentionally. We have an app called Copy on Slack,
Yeah.
which posts questions to people saying, hey, uh, if you were a Marvel superhero, which one would you be and why? Things like that. So random
Okay.
questions, but we learn something about our team through that and learn something about each other, right? So I think that we have a fitness challenge going on right now. So you're sort of, there's a lot of action activity outside of work also happening with the team. But I think, work definitely takes a center stage given like we are a very motivated bunch and we have like big targets that we're going after.
True. Yep. And Shri, how many team members like exist as of now?
We're 27.
27. Cool. So maybe you might have some targets in increasing this the count as well, right? Maybe by the end of this year or next year, just to understand it, because there'll be a lot of people in the audience who might want to look out for a job, or they're searching for a job already. So I want to keep this question open so that
Yeah, two
someone hearing this.
CSMs, one SDR, or two SDRs, one account executive. Please come and join us.
Oh, great.
Who is listening?
Great. We would definitely help you get a great resource for the company. Great. Okay, so we are done with the rapid fire round, and Shri, great job on that. Like, you've passed like with more than distinction marks, and great job. Moving ahead with the next round, which is the dilemma situation. Over to you, Lotte.
Yes, so you already mentioned before that there are also other companies coming to the market with customer onboarding platforms. So what are the advantages of Rocketlane, of using Rocketlane over the other customer onboarding platforms?
Sure. So I think I'll divide it into two parts. One is just the product, and then I think working with us as a company. That I think both are important. From a product perspective, we do have a few unique things in our product. For example, uh, document collaboration is like a first class experience in the product as compared to for everyone else in this space. It's just the task management, right? So we sort of said, hey, a lot of document work actually happens, so it should be well integrated. You should be able to do that also in the platform. So our customer portal, as I said before, it has the tasks, documents, status updates, approvals, all of it put together in that experience. So that's unique. It's like an all-in-one experience. It's not doing one part of the job, it's doing everything. Including like for like more mature teams that have like timesheets and time tracking needs, as like professional services teams that do onboarding, even that's available natively in the product, right? So I think that's one big differentiator. Uh, of course, I think we've thought through a lot more than other products on specific situations that, where you're going to have to, where you can put a product like this to real good use. For example, we have something called a presentation mode, which is unique to our product, where you can walk the customer through an interactive journey instead of like showing a PPT, which has like, these are the stages we're going to take you through. It's going to like come up one by one, where you can say, okay, first is kickoff and, requirements. Then we're going to go to planning. Then we're going to go to implementation. So you can do that in an interactive way, showcase like timelines, showcase who's responsible for what, all of that visually. So we thought of it from a jobs to be done for the user. You use that approach to design different things in the product. So this is one example. But then there's also things like CSAT for milestones that you're going through. And so that helps you keep things like you understand the customer sentiment at every point in the time, but it also keeps your CSMs on their toes, because if you're getting into a kickoff knowing that there's going to be a CSAT rating for that versus without that, I think the way we approach it is now about how do I wow the customer and get those 5 stars, right? So things like that. I would say overall, just the usability and experience we provide is like far ahead today of most of the other players in the space. And that's not me saying it. That's like people who have seen the other products telling us that. So yeah, I would say those are some of the aspects where we shine versus others. a lot of customization, and also like we want to make the purchase a no-brainer. So our pricing is also more affordable in general. But I think the real kicker is, you want to work with a company that's a thought leader in the space. And I think that's what we bring to the table. As I said, it's not us doing it on our own. We're not claiming that we are the experts, but then we have this community where people can come and learn from each other. We are learning from them, and we are productizing those things in our experience. We are creating templates for our customers saying, hey, you know what, we've learned all of this. We're going to help you with that. And actually, one of the most interesting things which happened, which again, we learned from a customer, is for like some of the larger accounts, it's going to be a challenge to do change management at their end, right? So you bring in new software, people need to adopt that software. They need to be excited about like this whole moving to Rocketlane, right? And what we do is at the end of the journey, there is an onboarding day in their company. And the onboarding day is not just about Rocketlane. It's also about how we are helping them level up how they're thinking about onboarding. And so anyone in that career, like as a CSM or an onboarding specialist who's going to do onboarding in their role, they also want to know how they're making progress in their career, right? Like how are they leveling up personally? And we are bringing in like this onboarding day to help like make that a formal program for them. So one customer we did that for said, hey, you know what? We are going to take this idea and do it every quarter for our team. But of course, we are going to be available to them to help out with planning that onboarding day as well. So things like this. I think it's not just software. We believe problem greater than product. Product alone can't solve things. You need minds thinking about the problem and coming up with things around the product also to make it a success.
Right. Of course. Yep. Agreed. Okay, let's move ahead with the last question for this chat show, though I don't want this to end because I'm getting to know so many great things about Rocketlane, but can't help it. Okay, so going ahead with the last question, which is what are some of the next features for Rocketlane, Shri? Like, what do you think that you would be adding to it? Like, I know you would not be disclosing it as such, but maybe if you can give some cues around, what do you think you'll be innovating with in future?
There's quite a lot of interesting ideas in there, and if you prioritize some of them based on what we know will have higher impact for our customers earlier in the journey, I think more insights and sort of reports which will help you streamline your operations. Right today, a lot of onboarding teams and implementation journeys are analyzed more in an anecdotal fashion. Like you ask someone and they tell you, okay, in the last onboarding, this is where we struggled. But then for you to look at data and say, hey, here's where we're typically going wrong. This is the task or this is the milestone where the customer drops the ball. So giving you those kind of insights so that you can then figure out, okay, should I break this down in a simpler way? Or how do I de-risk this activity, right? So that you're making progress, you're not getting stuck in the same place with every customer. So insights are definitely something that we're focused on. And there's more, I think, more of the all-in-one also coming in. I mentioned timesheets already, but there's resource management. There's a project chat that is coming in. That's probably shipping next week, actually, where people create these Slack channels for every project, saying, okay, I'm going to make a shared channel with my customer. And it becomes unmanageable after a while. So we're saying, hey, you don't need to go to Slack for that. We can do it right here. Of course, we also have a Slack integration for teams that are really used to that. But if you don't need it, you can have it right here inside Rocketlane.
Oh, great. That's such a cool feature that's coming up. So this is shipping next week, right?
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Right.
Awesome.
Yes. Very interesting. So this with this we come to the end of our chat show. So we really want to thank you for joining us, and we also want to wish you a lot of luck with the future of Rocketlane.
Thank you so much, Lotta.
All the very best, Shri.
Thanks, Bhavika.